The large screen at NASA's Mission Control showed a vessel unlike anything humans had ever built. It moved with impossible grace, defying known physics as it decelerated into Earth's orbit. Everyone in the room held their breath. After decades of searching the stars and sending signals into the void, someone had finally answered. Dr. Alan Pierce stood at the back of the room, his fingers nervously tapping against his coffee mug. As chief xenobiologist for NASA's Extraterrestrial Intelligence Division, he had prepared his entire career for this moment. Yet nothing felt real. The aliens, actual aliens, would land in less than an hour. "They're requesting coordinates for landing," said a young technician, her voice shaking slightly. "They're speaking perfect English." "That's impossible," muttered Alan. "How could they know our language?" The room fell silent as a message appeared on screen. "Greetings, Earth. We come in peace as representatives of the Galactic Confederation. Please provide suitable landing coordinates." 6 hours later, Alan stood on a hastily prepared landing pad at Edwards Air Force Base. Beside him, Captain Lisa Morales scanned the sky with narrowed eyes. The former Air Force pilot had been appointed head of Earth's diplomatic security team just 3 days ago, when the alien vessel first appeared on deep space monitoring systems. "I don't like this," Lisa said quietly. "They're too casual about the whole thing. First contact should be a big deal, even for an advanced civilization." Alan nodded. "Notice they sent a small ship, too, not their main vessel. Like they're not worried about us at all," Lisa agreed. The ship that descended from the clouds was indeed much smaller than the one they had observed in orbit. It was roughly the size of a city bus, with a sleek silver exterior that seemed to shift colors as it moved. It made almost no sound as it landed, just a soft hum that faded quickly. A panel slid open on the side of the craft. 3 figures emerged. They were humanoid, but clearly not human, taller and thinner, with skin that had a faint bluish tint. Their eyes were larger than human eyes, and their fingers had one too many joints. They wore simple gray jumpsuits with no visible weapons or protective gear. "That's odd," Alan whispered. "No environmental protection. No quarantine protocols. They're not afraid of our germs," Lisa replied. "Or us." The tallest of the 3 aliens stepped forward, raising a 4-fingered hand in greeting. "I am Ambassador Zixtal of the Galactic Confederation. We are pleased to finally make official contact with Earth." "Finally?" Alan asked before he could stop himself. The alien's expression shifted into what might have been a smile. "Yes, finally. Your world has been on our monitoring list for some time." President Rivera stepped forward from the group of human representatives. "On behalf of all nations of Earth, we welcome you. We have many questions." "As expected," said Ambassador Zixtal. "And we have brought answers, along with an official welcome packet." One of the other aliens approached, carrying a small device that projected a holographic document in midair. The text was in several languages, with English prominently displayed. "This is your official classification and welcome to the interstellar community," the ambassador explained. "Earth is hereby recognized as a Class 4 low-threat environment." A murmur ran through the human delegation. Lisa's posture stiffened. "Low threat?" she repeated. "What exactly does that mean?" The ambassador blinked slowly. "It is a standard classification. It simply means your species poses minimal risk to Confederation members and interests. With all due respect," Lisa said, "humans have developed nuclear weapons, advanced military technology." The ambassador made a sound that might have been laughter. "Captain Morales, we have monitored your military capabilities. They are quaint." President Rivera placed a calming hand on Lisa's arm before she could respond. "Perhaps we should continue this discussion more privately. We've prepared facilities for your delegation." Later, in a conference room inside the base, Alan studied the classification document more carefully. The aliens had provided tablets with access to a simplified version of what they called the Confederation Knowledge Base. "I don't understand," Alan said, looking up at Ambassador Zixtal. "These threat classifications seem to be based on technological development, but there are species listed here with less advanced technology than ours classified as higher threats." "Threat assessment is complex," the ambassador replied. Technology is merely one factor. Lisa, who had been silently fuming since the landing, finally spoke up. So, what makes us low threat exactly? Our weapons? Your weapons are not particularly concerning, said one of the other aliens who had introduced himself as Science Officer Krell. They are destructive but limited in range. But we could develop better ones, Lisa pushed. Perhaps, Ambassador Zixtal said with that strange, not-quite smile again. But weapon development is not the primary concern in threat assessment. Alan noticed something strange in the document, a hidden data packet embedded in the file structure. Years of working with complex scientific data sets had trained his eye to spot patterns others might miss. He carefully avoided drawing attention to his discovery as he continued scrolling through the official text. It says here, Earth has been under observation for centuries? Alan looked up in surprise. Correct, the ambassador confirmed. We maintain observation posts for all developing worlds. Where? Lisa demanded. We've never detected any alien presence. The aliens exchanged glances. Your detection capabilities are still developing, Ambassador Zixtal said diplomatically. That night, alone in his temporary office, Alan extracted the hidden data packet from the classification document. What he found made his blood run cold. Earth hadn't just been under observation for centuries. According to these records, the Galactic Confederation had been monitoring Earth for over 50,000 years. And more disturbing still, Earth wasn't classified as a developing world at all. In the hidden files, Earth was designated as Special Containment Site 3197. Alan's phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. Found something strange. Meet me at the south entrance in 20 minutes. Tell no one. When Alan arrived, he found Lisa waiting with Sam Tucker, a computer specialist known for his brilliant but eccentric approaches to data analysis. The aliens aren't telling us everything, Lisa said without preamble. Sam found communication, signals between their ship and somewhere in the Arctic. I think we're asking the wrong questions, Alan said, showing them what he'd discovered. They didn't come here to welcome us to the galactic community. They came here to check on something. They're containing what? Sam asked, pushing his glasses up his nose. Alan shook his head. I don't know, but I think we need to find out what's in the Arctic. As they spoke, none of them noticed the small drone hovering silently in the darkness above them, its sensors, recording everything they said. Inside the alien vessel, Officer Krell watched the humans with growing concern. They've discovered the hidden classification, he reported to Ambassador Zixtal. Ahead of schedule. The ambassador nodded slowly. It was inevitable. Their pattern recognition abilities are why they were chosen in the first place. Should we stop them? No, the ambassador said, looking at the live feed of the three humans talking urgently in the shadows. Let them proceed. If the containment is truly weakening as we fear, we may need their help. After all, that's what they were designed for. Morning came too quickly. Alan had barely slept, his mind racing with questions about the hidden classification. He met Lisa and Sam in a small conference room they had secured for private discussions. The walls had been swept for listening devices, and Sam had set up a signal jammer just to be safe. We need to know more about this special containment site designation, Lisa said, pacing the room. And what exactly are they containing? Sam typed furiously on his laptop. I've been digging through the data Alan extracted. There are references to something called an awakening cycle occurring every few thousand years. The aliens seem concerned about something in the Arctic, Alan said. But why hide this from us? Why the pretense of diplomatic first contact? Their conversation was interrupted by a knock at the door. Lisa immediately reached for her sidearm, then forced herself to relax. She nodded to Sam, who disabled the jammer before she opened the door. Officer Krell stood in the hallway, alone and without the translator device the aliens typically carried. May I enter? He asked in slightly accented English. Lisa hesitated, then stepped aside. How did you find us? Your species is not difficult to track, Krell said, his large eyes blinking slowly. Your security measures are inadequate. Why are you here? Alan asked. Krell looked at each of them in turn. You have questions. Some of them, I may answer. Sam closed his laptop. What's in the Arctic? Direct, Krell said, almost approvingly. It is a monitoring station. One of several on your planet, but the oldest and most important. Monitoring what? Lisa pressed. That is complicated. Krell seemed to choose his words carefully. Ambassador Zixtal would not approve of this. Conversation, but I believe you deserve some truth. Your planet contains something of great importance to the Galactic Confederation. Alan leaned forward. The containment site designation? What are you containing here? Krell's expression was impossible to read, but his posture stiffened. I cannot answer that directly, but I can tell you that your species was selected for its unique qualities. Selected? Lisa's voice hardened. What does that mean? You asked earlier why Earth is classified as low threat, Krell said, changing the subject. The classification is not a judgment of your military capabilities, though they are indeed primitive by our standards. Then what is it based on? Alan asked. Threat classifications primarily assess a species' likelihood to disrupt the greater cosmic order, Krell explained. Species that develop faster than light travel too early, for instance, often cause significant disruptions, Sam snorted. So we're low threat because we're too stupid to leave our own solar system? Not stupid, Krell corrected. Your technological progress follows a necessary pattern. But there is another factor in your classification. Most species in the Confederation consider direct physical combat to be primitively barbaric. Lisa's eyes narrowed. What does that mean? Your species has an unusual fixation on physical violence, Krell said. Most advanced species develop past this stage, relying on technology rather than physical force. Your continued emphasis on hand-to-hand, combat training, physical strength, and battlefield tactics is considered archaic. You're saying we're not a threat because we still punch each other? Lisa asked incredulously. I am saying that what you consider strengths, the Confederation, largely considers evolutionary dead ends, Krell replied. But there is more to it than that. Alan was about to ask another question when alarms began blaring throughout the base. Krell's communication device emitted a series of rapid tones. I must go, he said, moving quickly toward the door. The main vessel has detected unusual activity at the Arctic station. Wait, Alan called after him. What's happening? Krell paused at the door, something that should not be possible for another 1,000 years. With that cryptic statement, he was gone. The three humans exchanged glances. We need to get to the Arctic, Lisa said firmly. 2 days later, they were on a military transport plane heading north. Lisa had pulled strings and called in favors to get them aboard a scientific research mission to investigate unusual electromagnetic readings near the North Pole. Dr. Olivia Grant, an Arctic research specialist, had joined their impromptu team, along with Commander John Ellis, who was officially in charge of the mission. These readings make no sense, Olivia said, looking over the data on her tablet. It's like there's a power source under the ice that's been there for, well, longer than humans have had technology. Commander Ellis frowned at the radar display. There's something else strange. The ice shelf configuration in this area doesn't match any of our previous surveys. It's like the geography itself has shifted. The plane landed on a temporary runway, established on the ice. The team quickly set up their base camp and prepared their equipment for exploration. The alien delegation had been suspiciously quiet about the expedition, neither helping nor hindering their efforts. They're watching us, Lisa said, looking up at the clear Arctic sky, waiting to see what we do. Alan checked the readings on his scanner. The signal is strongest about 2 kilometers north of here. We should be able to reach it in a few hours. The journey across the ice was difficult but uneventful. As they approached the coordinates, however, the team's equipment began to malfunction. Something's interfering with our sensors, Sam said, hitting his tablet in frustration. Look there, Olivia pointed ahead. Does that ice formation look natural to you? Rising from the flat white landscape was a perfect dome of ice, roughly 100 meters in diameter. Its surface was smooth, almost polished. Definitely not natural, Commander Ellis confirmed. As they approached the dome, Alan's scanner picked up a faint energy signature. There's a pattern to the energy fluctuations, it's almost like a heartbeat. They circled the structure, looking for an entrance. Eventually, Sam discovered a section of the dome that responded to their presence. As he approached, the ice simply vanished, revealing a dark tunnel leading downward. It recognized us, Sam whispered. It was waiting for humans. The tunnel led deep beneath the ice, eventually opening into a vast chamber that couldn't possibly have been built by human hands. The walls were covered in strange symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. At the center of the chamber stood a pillar of blue light that stretched from floor to ceiling. "What is this place?" Olivia breathed. Alan approached one of the walls, studying the changing symbols. "It's old. Millions of years old, at least." Commander Ellis pointed to a section of the wall where the symbols appeared to form a recognizable pattern. "Is that the solar system?" As they watched, the symbols rearranged themselves into a clear depiction of Earth, with a bright point pulsing at its core. "It's monitoring something inside the Earth," Alan realized. "Something deep within the planet itself." Lisa touched her hand to the wall, and immediately the entire chamber hummed with energy. The blue pillar brightened, and within it appeared a holographic image of Earth's internal structure, from crust to core. But at the very center, where the inner core should be, was something else. Something that pulsed and shifted like a living thing. "Oh my God," Olivia whispered. "What is that?" Before anyone could respond, a new voice spoke from behind them. "That is why we are here. That is what your species was chosen to contain." They turned to find Ambassador Zix Tal standing in the entrance to the chamber, flanked by Officer Krell and several other aliens they hadn't met before. "Contain?" Alan repeated. "What exactly is that thing?" The ambassador's expression was grim. "Something ancient, something that should not be awake for another 1,000 years, and yet," added Krell, "it is beginning to stir." The chamber fell silent except for the soft hum of the ancient technology surrounding them. Alan stared at the holographic image of Earth's core, trying to make sense of the shifting, almost living thing displayed within it. "What exactly is that?" he asked, pointing to the pulsing mass at the center of the hologram. Ambassador Zixtal approached the pillar of light. "It has many names across the galaxy. Some call it the Devourer, others the Sleeper. My people know it as the Void Entity." "That doesn't answer the question," Lisa said sharply. "What is it?" "It is a cosmic being," Officer Krell explained. "One of several that existed before galaxies formed. Most were destroyed or dispersed during the early formation of the universe, but a few survived." Olivia stepped closer to the hologram. "And one is inside our planet?" "Not by accident," the ambassador said. "It was imprisoned here long ago by a species that predates even the Confederation." Commander Ellis crossed his arms. "And what does this have to do with humans being classified as low threat?" The ambassador's large eyes blinked slowly. "Everything." Krell moved to a panel on the wall and pressed a sequence of symbols. The chamber darkened and new images appeared in the holographic display. They showed early primates on the African savanna, then a series of rapid evolutionary changes. "Your species did not evolve naturally," Krell said. "You were engineered." "Engineered?" Sam repeated. "By who?" "By the same species that imprisoned the entity," the ambassador replied. "They needed guardians for their prison." Alan felt cold despite the regulated temperature of the chamber. "You're saying humans were created to guard this thing?" "Not exactly," Krell said. "The original plan was more elegant. Your ancestors were genetically modified to develop in a specific way. Your brains emit unique frequencies that help maintain the entity's sleep state." Lisa narrowed her eyes. "So we're what? Living sedatives for a cosmic monster?" "More like a living containment field," the ambassador corrected. Your collective consciousness creates a barrier that the entity cannot easily penetrate. Sam laughed, without humor. So that's why we're low threat, because we're already doing a job for you. The classification serves a purpose, Krell said. If other species knew the truth, they might seek to destroy Earth to eliminate the risk of the entity, escaping, or worse, try to harness its power. Alan stepped back from the hologram, his mind racing. This facility is monitoring the containment, isn't it? And something's changed. The ambassador nodded. The entity follows a cycle. Every few thousand years, it stirs in its sleep, testing its prison. The facility was built to strengthen the containment during these periods, but something's different this time, Commander Ellis said. It wasn't a question. Yes, the ambassador confirmed. The awakening has come centuries too early, and the indicators suggest it will be stronger than previous cycles. Olivia had been studying the symbols on the walls. These readings show increasing seismic activity worldwide, minor tremors that seem random but follow a pattern. The first signs of awakening, Krell agreed. So what happens if this thing fully wakes up? Lisa asked. The ambassador's expression grew grave. If the entity escapes Earth, it will consume all life in this solar system before moving on to others. It feeds on consciousness itself. The more advanced the mind, the more satisfying the meal. A heavy silence fell over the group. Alan broke it first. You said humans were engineered to help contain this thing. How exactly do we do that? Krell gestured to another panel, which displayed waves of energy emanating from human population centers. Your brains produce specific patterns when active. These patterns, multiplied by billions, create a field that the entity finds disorienting. It cannot focus enough to break its physical bonds. That doesn't make sense, Sam objected. Human populations have varied throughout history. Sometimes, there were very few of us. The engineers built redundancies into the system, the ambassador explained. The facility contains amplifiers that strengthen the field when human populations are low, but as your numbers grew, the amplifiers were needed less. Until now, Olivia said, understanding dawning. The entity is getting stronger, isn't it? Yes, the ambassador confirmed. And we do not know why. Commander Ellis, ever practical, stepped forward. So what do? How do we stop this thing from waking up? The facility has protocols for strengthening the containment, Krell said. But they require direct human involvement. The system was designed that way. Only the Guardians can reinforce the prison. Why didn't you just tell us this from the beginning? Lisa demanded. Why all the secrecy and the low-threat classification? The ambassador exchanged looks with Krell before answering. The truth is, Captain Morales, we were not certain you would help us. Why wouldn't we? Alan asked. This thing threatens our planet too. Because, Krell said softly, to truly strengthen the containment, the facility requires sacrifice. Before anyone could ask what he meant, the ground beneath them trembled. The holographic display flickered, showing the entity pulsing more rapidly. Another tremor? Olivia reported, checking her instruments. Magnitude 5.2, centered in the Pacific. They're getting stronger, the ambassador said. We have less time than I thought. Alan studied the facility controls. Despite their alien design, he could sense a pattern to them. These systems need human operation, you said. What exactly do they do? They amplify the containment field, Krell explained, using the combined mental energy of all humans, focused through this facility. But that would require global coordination, Commander Ellis objected. We can't exactly tell 7 billion people to think in unison. No, the ambassador agreed. But the facility can create a resonance effect. It needs only a few humans to establish the pattern, then it can spread that resonance globally. A few humans, Lisa repeated. You mean us? Yes, Krell said simply. The facility was designed to respond to those who discovered it. Sam, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly spoke up. I've been analyzing these signals. They look familiar. He pulled up some data on his tablet. They're similar to human brain patterns during certain activities, particularly during intense creativity or problem-solving. Alan's eyes widened as understanding dawned. That's it. The entity is contained by human consciousness, specifically the parts of our minds that make us uniquely human. Our creativity, Olivia said slowly, our ability to imagine, to solve problems, to think beyond immediate survival, the very qualities that make your species seem primitive to many in the Confederation, the ambassador admitted. Your emotional responses, your creativity, your unpredictability, these are the chains that bind the entity. Another tremor shook the facility, stronger than the last. Pieces of ice fell from the ceiling. We don't have much time, Commander Ellis said. What exactly do we need to do? The ambassador moved to the central pillar and placed his hand on a panel. The blue light shifted, revealing 5 alcoves arranged in a circle around the pillar. The original designers created this as a last resort, he explained. 5 humans must connect directly to the facility, combining their consciousness to reset the containment field. Connect how? Lisa asked suspiciously. The process is not without risk, Krell admitted. Your minds will temporarily link with the facility's systems, and through them you will sense the entity itself. Will we survive? Olivia asked bluntly. The ambassador's silence was answer enough. No one spoke for several long moments. The gravity of their situation hung in the air like a physical weight. 5 alcoves, 5 humans, and no guarantee of survival. There must be another way, Alan said finally, breaking the silence. If there is, we do not know it, the ambassador replied. This facility was built millions of years ago. Much of its technology is beyond even our understanding. Lisa stepped forward, her military training taking over. We need more information before anyone gets into those alcoves. What exactly happens during this process? Krell moved to another panel and activated a sequence of symbols. The facility will create a direct link between your minds and its core systems. Through this link, you will help shape the containment field that keeps the entity dormant. And the risk? Commander Ellis asked. The human mind was not designed to perceive cosmic entities, the ambassador said carefully. The process could damage your consciousness permanently. Another tremor shook the facility, stronger than the previous ones. Larger chunks of ice fell from the ceiling. We need to contact the surface, Commander Ellis decided. Report what we've found and request guidance. There is no time, the ambassador warned. These tremors will grow stronger. If the entity fully awakens, no force in this solar system will be able to contain it again. Sam had been studying the facility's systems on his tablet. He looked up suddenly. I think there's a way to modify the connection, make it safer. How? Alan asked. The system is designed to create a direct neural link, Sam explained. But if we could buffer it somehow, create a filter between our minds and the facility, Olivia moved to his side looking at his findings. He's right. The interface is adaptable. We might be able to protect ourselves while still making the connection. Lisa turned to the aliens. Would that work? Possibly, Krell said after a moment's consideration. The system was designed to be used by humans after all. It may adapt to protect you. Alan made a decision. I'll go first. Test the modified connection. No, Lisa countered. I should do it. I have combat training. My mind is disciplined. This isn't about combat, Alan argued. It's about understanding the system. I've studied xenobiology my entire career. I'm the most prepared for this. Before they could debate further, the ground shook violently. The holographic display flickered wildly, showing the entity pulsing faster than ever. Magnitude 7.3, Olivia reported grimly, checking her instruments. Pacific region. Tsunami warnings in effect. The ambassador's communication device chimed. He checked it and his expression grew even more serious. Our main vessel reports similar seismic activity beginning worldwide. We are running out of time. We all go in together. Commander Ellis decided, taking charge. Sam, make your modifications quickly. The rest of us, prepare yourselves. Sam and Olivia worked frantically at the control panels, making adjustments to the interface. The aliens watched with what might have been surprise. "Your species continues to impress us," Krell said quietly to Alan. "Few would attempt to modify technology they barely understand." "That's humanity for you," Alan replied. "We're too stubborn to accept no-win scenarios." After 10 tense minutes, Sam stepped back from the controls. "It's done. I've created a buffer system. It should filter the connection, protect our minds from direct contact." "Should?" Lisa asked. Sam gave a weak smile. "Best I can do with million-year-old. Alien tech in 10 minutes. The 5 humans gathered around the central pillar. The alcoves glowed softly, waiting for them. "What do we do once we're connected?" Olivia asked. "Focus your thoughts on Earth," the ambassador instructed. "On humanity, on what makes your species unique. The facility will use those patterns to strengthen the containment." "And if we sense the entity?" Commander Ellis asked. The ambassador hesitated. "Do not engage with it. Do not acknowledge it. It feeds on attention and consciousness." With nothing left to say, the 5 humans each stepped into an alcove. As soon as they were in position, transparent barriers formed around them, and the light from the central pillar intensified. Alan felt a tingling sensation spread from the back of his neck through his entire body. His vision blurred, then cleared, to reveal not the inside of the facility, but a vast abstract space filled with swirling patterns of light. "Can everyone hear me?" he called out, his voice sounding strange in this mental landscape. "Yes," came the responses one by one. The others appeared as glowing human shapes in the space around him. "The buffer is working," Sam's form announced. "I can feel the system, but it's not overwhelming." "Where do we go now?" Lisa asked. As if in response to her question, a path of light formed in the space before them, leading toward a pulsing core of energy in the distance. "I think we follow." "That," Alan said. They moved forward together, their consciousnesses floating through the abstract space. As they drew closer to the core, Alan began to sense something else, a vast presence surrounding them, watching. "Do you feel that?" Olivia whispered. "Ignore it," Commander Ellis reminded them. The ambassador said not to engage with the entity. They continued forward, but the sense of being watched grew stronger. Alan could feel pressure against his mind, like something trying to look inside his thoughts. "It's scanning us," Sam realized, "trying to understand what we are." "Keep moving," Lisa urged. "Focus on the task." They reached the core, which now revealed itself as a complex nexus of energy patterns, the heart of the containment system. Alan could sense how it connected to billions of human minds across the planet, drawing on their collective consciousness to create a barrier around the entity. "It's beautiful," Olivia said in awe. "And it's failing," Sam noted, pointing to fractures appearing in the pattern. These must represent the weakening points in the containment. Alan understood instinctively what they needed to do. "We need to restore the pattern. Each of us takes a section and reinforces it." They spread out around the core, each focusing on a different segment of the containment field. Alan concentrated on the patterns of human creativity and imagination. The qualities the ambassador had mentioned were most effective at binding the entity. As they worked, Alan became aware of something massive shifting in the space beyond the containment. Something ancient and hungry, stirring from a long sleep. "It's becoming more active," Commander Ellis warned. "Work faster." Alan poured his consciousness into the pattern, thinking of humanity's greatest achievements: art, music, literature, science, all the ways humans had expressed their unique ability to create and imagine. The section of the field under his control began to strengthen, the fractures closing. Suddenly, he felt something reach directly for his mind, a tendril of awareness from beyond the containment. Images flooded his consciousness: stars dying, planets crumbling, entire civilizations screaming as they were consumed. "It's attacking," he shouted. "It's trying to break through Sam's buffer." "Ignore it," Lisa called back. "It's showing us what it wants, what it will do if it escapes. Don't let it distract you." Alan struggled to focus on his task as the entity continued its assault on his mind. Then he felt something unexpected. Support from the others, their consciousnesses bolstering his own, helping him resist. We're stronger together, Olivia realized. Link your minds with mine. The 5 humans merged their consciousness more deeply, creating a unified field of human thought. Together, they pushed back against the entity's intrusion and redoubled their efforts on the containment pattern. The core began to pulse with renewed energy. The fractures in the pattern closed one by one. The entity's presence receded, forced back by their combined effort. It's working, Sam exclaimed, as the final fractures sealed. The core flashed with brilliant light. The alien facility channeled their combined consciousness, amplified it, and broadcast it to every human mind on the planet, not controlling them, but resonating with the uniquely human qualities that maintained the containment. For a brief moment, Alan could sense the entirety of humanity, billions of minds, each unique, each contributing to the pattern that kept the entity imprisoned. It was overwhelming and beautiful. Then, abruptly, the connection ended. Alan found himself back in his physical body, stumbling out of the alcove as the transparent barrier dissolved. The other 4 humans emerged similarly, dazed but alive. We did it, Olivia said weakly, leaning against the central pillar for support. The ambassador approached them, his expression showing what might have been respect. You have succeeded. The containment has been restored to full strength. For how long? Commander Ellis asked, ever practical. Years, perhaps decades, Krell answered. Longer than the entity's normal cycle would allow. But it will try again, Lisa said. It wasn't a question. Yes, the ambassador confirmed. The entity will never stop trying to escape. 3 days later, Alan sat in a conference room at the Pentagon. The table was filled with military leaders, scientists, and government officials from around the world. On a large screen at the front of the room, Ambassador Zixtal addressed the gathering from the alien vessel now in orbit around Earth. Revealed to world leaders. No, the ambassador confirmed. The entity will continue to test its prison. Each cycle may grow stronger. Alan watched the faces around the table. Some showed fear, others determination. The past few days had been a whirlwind of emergency meetings, classified briefings, and global coordination unlike anything in human history. So what is your recommendation? The Secretary General of the United Nations asked. The Confederation has protocols for situations like this, the ambassador said. When containment of an entity becomes unstable, the standard procedure is quarantine. Quarantine? General Martinez frowned. What exactly does that mean? We would establish a perimeter around your solar system, Krell explained, stepping into view beside the ambassador. No ships would be permitted to enter or leave. Earth would be isolated until... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Until the entity either breaks free or goes back to sleep. Lisa finished for him. She sat beside Alan, representing the military's scientific division. Yes, the ambassador said. It is the safest option for the rest of the galaxy. The room erupted in angry voices. Alan understood their reaction. After learning they were part of the galactic community, to be told they would now be cut off seemed like cruel punishment. There must be another way, Dr. Eric Winters said. The geologist had been studying Earth's core anomalies for decades without knowing their true cause. We've maintained the containment for thousands of years without even knowing about it. Now that we understand what's happening, we can do better. The ambassador's expression was hard to read, but his tone was sympathetic. Dr. Winters, this situation is unprecedented. No containment site has ever experienced early awakening cycles like this. The entity is growing stronger for reasons we don't understand. Sam, who had been quiet until now, suddenly spoke up. I think I might know why. All eyes turned to him. Sam cleared his throat, uncomfortable with the attention. When we were connected to the facility, I sensed something about the containment pattern, he explained. It's designed to use human consciousness, specifically our creativity, our emotions, our ability to imagine and solve problems. Yes, Krell confirmed. Those are the qualities that were enhanced in your species during your engineering. Well, those qualities have exploded in recent centuries, Sam continued. Our population has grown exponentially. Our creative output, art, music, literature, scientific innovation, has increased at an unprecedented rate. We're generating more of the exact patterns that strengthen the containment than ever before. But if those patterns strengthen the containment, why is the entity awakening early? Olivia asked. She sat across from Sam, representing the scientific community. Because it's aware of us now, Alan realized, the pieces falling into place. It senses the food source. The containment doesn't just keep it trapped, it keeps it from being aware of us. But with so many minds generating these patterns, it's like surrounding a sleeping predator with the smell of food, Commander Ellis added. Eventually, hunger will wake it no matter how deeply it's sleeping. The ambassador and Krell exchanged looks. This is a concerning theory, the ambassador admitted. But it gives us an idea, Lisa said, sitting forward. If human consciousness is both the lock and the key to this prison, we can use that. We just connected 5 minds to the facility and strengthened the containment. What if we could do more? What are you suggesting? General Martinez asked. A global consciousness initiative, Lisa said firmly. Not just 5 minds, but millions, billions. How would that even work? Someone asked. Sam was already typing on his tablet. The facility has the technology to create a resonance pattern through all human minds. We experienced it firsthand. If we could replicate that technology, create a network of amplifiers around the planet, we could create a permanent strengthening of the containment field, Alan finished. Dr. Winters stood up. It's possible. The entity creates detectable, electromagnetic patterns. We could design systems to generate counter patterns amplified by human consciousness. The ambassador was silent for a long moment. This has never been attempted, he finally said. But it might work. The original engineers built the system to adapt and evolve alongside humanity. We'll need time to develop the technology, Olivia cautioned, and global cooperation, Commander Ellis added. Every nation would need to participate. We'll make it happen, the Secretary General said firmly. The alternative is unacceptable. Over the next 6 months, the world changed. The truth about Earth's cosmic purpose was carefully revealed to the public. Scientists from around the globe worked alongside Confederation advisors to develop what became known as the Resonance Network, a system of facilities built to amplify human consciousness and strengthen the entity's containment. The first test occurred exactly 6 months after the Arctic discovery. Alan stood with Lisa, Sam, Olivia, and Commander Ellis in a control room beneath a new facility built in the Rocky Mountains. Similar control rooms in Africa, Asia, Europe, and Australia were connected via video conference. Each continent had its own resonance amplifier, all linked to the original Arctic facility. All systems are ready, Sam reported. Resonance patterns, stable. Global participation at 93%, Olivia added, checking the data. All around the world, people were engaged in activities that produced the unique thought patterns that strengthened the containment. Creating art, solving problems, sharing stories, making music. It's working, Lisa said, watching the readings. The containment field is stronger than it's ever been. On the main screen, Ambassador Zixtal and the Confederation Council observed the proceedings from their vessel. Remarkable, the ambassador said. Your species continues to surprise us. Is it enough? Alan asked. Will the quarantine be lifted? The council members conferred briefly before the ambassador answered. The quarantine protocol is rescinded. Earth will be reclassified. As what? Commander Ellis asked. Not as a low threat environment, the ambassador said, but as something new in our records, a guardian world. General Martinez smiled. I like the sound of that better. There is more. The ambassador continued. The Confederation offers Earth full membership, effective immediately. Your unique abilities make you valuable allies. The control room erupted in cheers. Alan felt a hand on his shoulder and turned to see Lisa smiling at him. Not bad for a low-threat species, she said. We still have much to learn, Alan replied. The entity will never stop trying to escape. We'll need to remain vigilant. That's what humans do best, Sam said, joining them. We're stubborn that way. On the screen showing the Arctic facility, the ancient control room glowed with new energy. The holographic display showed Earth's core, where the entity now lay surrounded by layers of human-generated containment fields, sleeping once again but more securely than ever before. And in the vast reaches of space, word spread quickly through the Galactic Confederation. Earth was no longer classified as low threat. It was now known by a term that made other species approach with caution and respect: the Warden World. The species that had been engineered as unknowing jailers had become conscious guardians, and the universe would never see humanity the same way again.